Hi everybody, my name's Larry and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm glad to be out here with you guys, and it's good to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd like to thank the committee for inviting me out to be here, and I'm just glad to be sober. I'm happy that I'm sober, and I know those two words don't belong in the same room, being happy and being sober. But I am that today. I had a great ride out here. I'm with my sponsor. It's always it's something that I like doing. I like being with my sponsor. We had a good trip. I went and picked him up at 4:30 in the morning, and on my way over to his house, my glove box kept opening up. So I would slam it shut, and then it would plop open again. And I would slam it shut, and it would plop open again, and I speed it up. And I brought it up slowly, and I locked it, and it plopped open again. So I turned the radio off, I speeded it up, and I tried to bring it up fast and lock it, and it plopped open again. Now, the idea of leaving the damn thing alone never entered my mind. You know, I'm going to work on this all the way to his house, god dang it, you know, and just really get into it, you know. And as I stand here tonight, the car's parked over at the Long Beach airport, and the glove box is wide open. But I've got a long ride home, and this time it's going to be different, that's for sure, you know. I don't know about surrender. I really don't. My sponsor tells me that I'm living proof that a man can stay sober for close to 20 years and not amount to a damn thing. Somebody in your room? Oh. Anyway, it's good to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I want to thank the guys from Midtown. We were with the Hideous Four Horsemen last night. Kevin, Brandon, Cleavage, Mindy, and we had a good time. There's nothing like being in the middle of AA. You know what I mean? I mean, there's nothing like it when you got your sponsor and your grand sponsor and guys you're with and stuff like that. And in our book, it talks about a fellowship that I crave. You know, we will help you create a fellowship that, now that's a word I understand. You know, and with Alcoholics Anonymous and a home group and stuff like that, you're in the middle of the very thing that's saving your life. And if you're new, I urge you to get a sponsor. You know. And if you don't know what one is, years ago there was in the drag racing and the stock cars, the cars were going so fast that the front wheels were leaving the ground. And so they got together with the engineers and the aerodynamic guys, and they invented this thing called a spoiler that they put on the back of the car that no matter how fast that dragster's going, wheels will never lift the ground. Hence the name sponsor. You know, no matter how crazy you get, you know, you'll have a kind and loving sponsor who will say things like, well, where in the hell were you last night, you know? And, you know, and he keeps your feet firmly planted in AA. You know, it doesn't keep you from getting goofy, but gives the things for you to do while you are goofy. You know what I mean? He knows you're going to get goofy, you know? He expects it, you know? In fact, you're the relief for him being goofy, you know. And so get yourself a sponsor, and just as important, get yourself a couple people that you can talk to about your sponsor, you know, and see if he's giving them that same crap that he's giving you, you know. And he is. He plays no favorites. But that's what I love about Alcoholics Anonymous, man. I know where to be found, and I'm locked in the middle of this thing, you know, and I've always been a loser. I've always been a hostile little loser walking around with this chip on my shoulder, you know, and never feeling a part of anything and wanting to feel a part of everything, you know, and growing up and, you know, I remember being in high school. You know, when you're a loser, people are always bringing people to your side, and they're saying, why can't you be like Charlie, for Christ's sakes, you know? And why can't you be like Herb, you know? And I remember being in high school, And I got drunk, and I'm in the principal's office, and the principal points up to the board, and there's this star quarterback. And he says, "For Christ's sakes, Larry, why don't you try to be like Coy?" Now, my sophomore year, I got arrested for selling dope and being drunk on campus, and I'm in there with my probation officer. And he says, "Why don't you try to be like Coy, star quarterback, My junior year, my sister brought this guy home, and she started dating him. And it's old number 7, Coy. He's right there on my front room, and my mom says, "Honey, why don't you try to be like Coy?" And my senior year, I'm in the Torrance jail. I'm getting ready to do 90 days, and there's a newspaper, and it says, "Coy Hall makes all pro CIF." And I said, "Shit, I wish I could be like Coy," Well, nowadays, on every corner in Los Angeles, it's very vogue to be selling oranges and have this sign that says, "I'll work for food," like you don't. Jesus. And, everybody's always trying to lay hands on me, or I always look like I need to be saved, and I'm in my truck, and it's a hot August night, and there's this guy on this corner with this sign, and he locks eyes with me, and I'm like, shit, I got $2 in my pocket, and he ain't getting that, Sure enough, he comes walking over to the truck, and he pokes his little head in there, and he goes, "Larry Thomas?" And I said, "Coy," I said, Jesus Christ, I said, "My God, I thought the guy had it made, and I thought if there was any justice in AA that maybe my grand sponsor or my sponsor could send this guy a little letter saying, 'Why can't you be like Larry?'" Everybody always looked like they had it made, man. And I've always been a little restless, irritable, discontented, a lot of energy, and don't know what to do with it. I got a head that's always dominated me. I got a head that loves to talk me to... My head's never talked me into saying, "Hey, let's stop drinking." I don't have that kind of head. My head's always talking me into... It's always about getting loaded, or you're not good enough for the good life. It's just hounding me, and it's relentless. I could be dead beat. I mean, I was pretty wired last night when we got home, and I was physically beat. And around 2:30, I lay my head down, and it wants to chat, And it won't let up, and it wants to talk about my childhood and bring me right up to date. And, the frustrating part about that is we just did that the night before, so my head never leaves me alone. And my head don't care that I'm sober. My head don't care I'm in AA. It certainly doesn't care I'm in Maryland, My head always wants to be doing something other than what I'm doing. You know what I mean? We were eating out last night at this restaurant, and my head's never happy with what I have. And it could be the best. But my head always wants what you want. And we went out with there was 12 of us, 12 alkies last night eating. And we're all wanting what the other guy has, What'd you get, Took us an hour to order, and we want that other guy's plate, And never happy with what's going on, man. And I have a great mom and dad. I was born in Michigan, about 3 or 4 years old. I brought out to California, put in a foster home for a while, bounced around there, and I had a great mom. My mom was a little Scandinavian lady, and she loved diet pills. She loved eating that speed. My mom was always buzzing around the house around 2 o'clock in the morning, sorting out nuts and bolts all night, and raking the neighbor's lawn around 3 in the morning, and just a busy lady. And she loved to needlepoint. My mom would take that speed and make Afghans all night, and everything in the house had an Afghan on it, The couches had Afghans, the chairs had Afghans. My dad's golf clubs had little chipmunks that she knit, and if there was any animals, they had a fresh vest on, and just a busy lady, and she liked to take that speed and do these big jigsaw puzzles, She'd go down to Save-Ons and get her a carton of Raleigh cigarettes because they had the coupons on the back. Yeah, and she'd save the coupons to buy more yarn. It was a hideous cycle she was caught up in, one that I know you know about, and she'd get this big puzzle of, the Mojave Desert or something, and come home, and get her a couple more Dexies, and put her card table on, and start putting together this damn puzzle. had a big pair of toenail clippers. Because if she got a piece that didn't fit, well, she's going to snip that son of a bit. Yeah, she's got a job to do, you know. And I remember coming home one day, and she was moving the refrigerator by herself. She's going to do some waxing, goddammit, you know, and she's going to move it herself. And I'm a curious kid. I always like to get into things. I'm always stealing from the folks and working out into the neighborhood, you know. I always like to steal. I always like to cheat. You know, there's a certain satisfaction in cheating and stealing, you know. I had that satisfaction on the plane yesterday. You know, I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's a smart guy. He's a college guy. He's got computers and stuff, you know, and he's sitting next to me, and those guys have always intimidated me, you know. People with money and education always intimidated me, you know. And this guy's a college guy and stuff, and he's sitting next to me, and he breaks out his laptop, you know, and I'm going, man, you know, what can I do to impress this guy? You know, so I thought, well, you know what, I'll do the crossword puzzle. That'll show him I'm smart, you know, and I break out the old American Airlines crossword puzzle. Don't know a damn word on it, man. Nope, don't know that one, you know, and he started doing the puzzle, you know, and just like that, man, I started copying. Yeah. The only word I got was they wanted an 11-word for non-alcoholic beverage. Yeah, I put a waste of time. But so I got this mom's that's buzzing around, and I remember being about 11, and I got this dad. My dad's a World War II vet. My dad's a happy drunk. My dad loves to get drunk, and he loves to sing. My dad's a happy World War II Nat King Cole, Bobby Darin drunk, baby. He loves to drink and he loves to sing, you know. Even though he only knows one line of the song, and you're going to hear it all night long, you know. Mac the Knife, oh, the shuck, babe, all night, man, you know. And he's a window climber, and he's always sneaking in my bedroom window. He's a refinery worker, so you never know when he's coming home, but you can always tell because he's got that greasy boot coming in on you like that. And I remember grabbing that boot and saying, hey, why don't you have Mom make you a set of keys, you know? Hell, she's up anyway, you know? I mean, I can hear the Hoover going, you know? And man, I wanted my dad's attention. I spent a lifetime trying to get my dad's approval, safely avoiding my mom, you know? And I wanted my old man to like me, man. I wanted desperately for that guy to make sure I'm all right, because I certainly admired him, and I knew that's what a man was supposed to be, man. And I always wanted to be, you know, and I always thought my dad was picking on me. You know, that's the thing about feeling special. I've always had to feel special. I don't know, you know, I've spent a lifetime doing average things expecting standing ovations. You know, I'm the type of guy who goes to work for 8 hours, and I think the boss is up in the office going, Jesus Christ, man. Boy, they don't make them like that anymore, you know, and he only took a half-hour lunch, too. Jesus, you know, and I would take out the trash, you know, and think my dad's picking on me, you know. Every Tuesday, he'd have me march out those barrels, man. I'd drag those barrels out, and I'm thinking every girl in the neighborhood could look at me, you know, you loser, dragging out the trash, you know, and I did that. And then the old man got me a trash barrel cart where you can wheel them out. I said, now, isn't this the craps, you know? He not only is picking on me, but he think I'm not man enough for the job, you know. And God, I wanted my dad's attention, you know. And I wound up hating that guy. I got so tired of chasing for his approval, you know. And I remember being about. I think we're going to have a break right about now. This is the bathroom break, I think, is what it is. Oh, shit, it's Dad. Hi there. Anyway, before Uncle Jack rudely interrupted me out there, and I'm, you know, I'm just a goofy kid. I'm up all night bouncing on the couch, sneaking in there every now and then, sneaking my mom's diet pills. I'm on Ritalin. I've taken my mom's diet pills, running out to the garage, closing the garage door, start putting together the PT-109, sniffing that glue, looking out the window, seeing the black and white flashes, and that's the damn sun going up and down, you know, and you come out of there about 2 days later, you know, and my mom's in the backyard, and she's weeding the dichondra. She looks like a gopher, you know, and I get right there next to her, and we just weed that whole yard, you know. And I got these two sisters who are afraid of me because I'm always fighting them, you know, and I'm sleeping with this Scandinavian grandfather who, you know, he used to tell me that I was better looking than both my sisters. That'll make you feel like a champ. You know, and you're sleeping with them, you know. There's no York and Borkin tonight, Grandpa, you know, and oh, I hated that. I hated the way I looked, you know, and my mom was always telling me, oh, you're such a good-looking kid, and my aunt, my Mexican aunt, was always telling me, you'll never have to worry about anything, you know. You're always going to have it made. Life is going to come, and, you know, I hated the way I looked. I looked in that mirror, and I just hated everything about me, you know, and I wanted to be ugly like you. You know, I drank and I got ugly, you know, and I wanted that, and I wanted a little nickname, you know. I wanted a nickname like Lefty and Sneaky and Snoopy and Poopy, you know, but I didn't have a nickname. My dad called me Boober. I don't want to be Boober, you know. That's that close to Goober, you know, and but around 11 years old, there's four of us across the street, and we passed around a bottle of Four Rose whiskey, and I swear to God, I didn't have to fight to feel good anymore. I didn't have to get anybody's approval, and there's always been a gap between my head and my gut. Always. And I got people telling me, just think yourself through. And I got people telling me, just gut up and you'll be all right. Go with your gut, you know. And I've always had this gap. They've never agreed, you know. I've always had a grinding head and a grinding gut, you know. And nothing's ever right. And I'm restless and I'm irritable and I'm discontented. And I always got that chip on my shoulder. And I took a shot of that Four Rose whiskey, and for the first time in my life, man, Howdy Doody felt like James Dean. Boom, I was solid. I'd never felt that kind of, and I never got that feeling with anything I did when I was sober. There was not a home run, not a group of people, nothing that ever made me feel that good as that first shot of Four Rose whiskey. And the effect produced by alcohol, I would pursue it far, far beyond anybody's imagination, even my own, because I knew I found something there, and I knew I would have to have it. It would be no question about it. Because whenever I would feel restless, irritable, or discontented, or I'd have to face some form of responsibility, which usually gets a man thirsty, you know, I have ran from responsibility my entire life. I can smell it blocks away, you know. Don't threaten me with a 401k, God damn it, I'm out of here, you know. Nothing. It means you got to stay there. And I'm a runner. Yeah, I'm a runner. I got wings on my feet, you know. And I took a shot of Four Rose whiskey, man, and I knew I had found something that I knew I would never find when I was sober. And at the age of 11, sobriety stopped working, you know. And I found something that I would always cling to, you know, because in my darkest moments, I knew what I was. When everybody else had left the room, I knew what I was. I was just a little young coward kid full of fear, and nothing ever takes it away, you know. And that, you know, I didn't head out to Skid Row that very next day, but I got the address, you know. And I finally found a group of guys in high school that I loved hanging around with because they did the same things that I did, you know. And I loved being a little gang, and I always wanted to be a part of life. And these guys, there was a brotherhood, and there was a camaraderie, and there was love and respect for one another. And it was the lowriders. And I love the lowriders, man. Over there in the West Coast, we used to lower our Chevrolets and get our hair up real high, you know. My hair looked like a Bakersfield tumbleweed, man. It was all big like that, and we'd lower our cars, and we'd bounce around and drink that gin and listen to the Four Tops and the Temptations and the OJs and Marvin Gaye, and God, I loved it, man. I was in my plumbing truck a couple of months ago, and the Four Tops came on. I just started sinking in my damn truck. I loved it. I had a Mexican girlfriend named Lupe, and she got her hair up real big, you know, and get her eyebrows real big, and she'd get her hair real big and get my hair real big, and we'd bounce around and drink that gin, wondering what the hell you're looking at, you know. What are you staring at, God damn it, you know. Now I know, you know. Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. I was in the Del Amo Mall, man. This kid walked by me. He's about 19 years old. He's got a bald head like a cue ball, you know. He's all tatted down. He's got a tank top on. He's got these big pants that you can put about 4 kids in, you know. He's got 3 beepers because he is an important kid, you know. Got those paper routes, you know. And I walked by him, and everything in his damn face is chained together, you know. He's got his ear chained to his lip. His nose is hooked to his, you know, and everything's all hooked together, you know. And he's got a chain to his wallet, you know, and he looked like a damn science project, you know. he opened up his mouth and he had a goddamn ball bearing in there. I said, what the hell is that, you know? And I walked by him. He says, what are you looking at? I said, I don't have a clue what the hell I'm looking at, you know? And I wanted to squirt him with some WD-40 or something like that, you know? And everything was hooked together, you know? And now I sponsor the kid, you know? And yeah. He says, what do you want me to do? I says, well, why don't you unlock yourself, for Christ's sakes, for starters? You know, but I understand that. You know, it's not about it's not about anything but keeping them out, you know. Get the hair up, get the hair down, pierce your nose, pierce your face, pierce everything, hook it all together, you know, just keep them out, you know. But when all else fails, you got that one little thing that'll keep them at arm's distance, and that's your anger. Boy, what an ace in the hole that is, huh? Just keep them on the edge, you know. That was the one thing that I hated when I was sober, was the monster inside. You know it's going to come out. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time, and the monster comes out, man. And it's just unpredictable as all hell. But the longer I stay sober, the closer that guy comes out, man. And I can't stand getting sober. And I'm surrounded by people who are getting sober all the time now. You know, they get the right wife and they sober up. They get threatened to go into jail and they sober up. They have a doctor threaten them with a physical ailment and they shape right up, you know. And it seems like to me as growing up, it seemed like the very things that scared people into getting sober are the things that drive me to drink, you know. I mean, just the thought of getting a family back makes me thirsty, you know, and the longer I stay sober, the worse that I feel, you know, and it's just a matter of time, you know, it's just a matter of time, and it seems like I drank to make up for lost time, and that lost time is the way I felt when I was sober. What a waste of time. And then you drink to make up for that lost time, and then it was just in that cage, man. Fear of running out, fear of no sleep, fear of everything, just surrounded by it. But you take a shot of alcohol, man, and it's an amazing thing when you get to that point when everything in you tells you to stop, and you're all for the idea. Yep, okay, yep. And you put your little feet on the ground, and in 2 hours, man, you're at Eddie's liquor store. And you got every reason in the world to stop drinking. No longer do you need people threatening you. You're all for it. You know damn well you need to stop, and you can't. You can't. Nothing in it. Everything's good for like 2-3 days, you know. And I'm bouncing around these guys, and I found a life where I don't have to worry about stopping. I found a life of that I knew that me and my partners would always bounce off into the sunset together, man. I knew it, you know. I'd never have to worry about anything. It'd be me and Pooch and Loopy all the way, you know, and I loved it, you know. And I hanged around a bunch of guys, and that's what we did. We made, and there was no big deals. I was just a little punk kid robbing houses and doing stuff like that, you know, and doing dope and stuff like that. And I remember in 1969, a lot of my buddies are going to Vietnam. A lot of them are going to San Francisco and turning hippie, and I wonder what I'm going to do with my life. So me and my buddy thought we'd go back to Detroit and find my roots, you know, and we wound up in Phoenix. And we're over there off North Central and Roosevelt at the Apache Hotel. I'm up on the 3rd floor just watching that damn wagon wheel bar, waiting for that guy to open up, you know. All night long, waiting for a bar to open up. All night long, man. Just waiting, you know. And I hooked up with a guy named Ernie. And this time in my life, I got a weird thing going on. It's weird. It's like no matter who's drinking next to me, after 2 Boilermakers, I start sounding just like them. It's an amazing thing. The guy could be from Tennessee, you know, and after 3 Boilermakers, hi, Larry, how are you? I'm doing fine, how are you? You know, and the next day I'll be at a little Japanese bar, you know. Hi, Mr. Letty, how are you? Very good, thank you, you know. I don't care, as long as I'm not me, you know. And I hook up with this guy named Ernie, and we're at the Apache Motel, and he says, I got an idea, Larry. He says, not too far from here. He says, there's a racetrack. He says, what we're going to do is we're going to get you down to 95 pounds. He says, you're going to be a jockey. I said, all right, you know, I'm into training, you know, and he says, now what I want you to do in 2 months, we're going to go in for a weigh-in. He says, I want you to take some of this, you know, and he had a bag of meth, you know, and so he says, we're going to get you down to 95 pounds, and he takes off. You know, and 5 days later he comes back, and I'm in that same doorway, you know, What the hell? I don't want to be a jockey no more, Ernie. My head's going faster than any goddamn horse I've ever seen in my life. I'm all sunken in, damn near 95 pounds, and he cashed that idea in, and so I got this little job at a Volt or Manpower. I started digging ditch for a plumber, and then I dig ditch for him for about a month, and faked an injury, went to the doctor's office, got a prescription pad, started drinking Kessler, started writing prescriptions for Seconal and Nebutol and Obertrol and you name it all. We wrote it all. Damn near took it all too, and went down to Tucson, and we started selling these prescriptions and stuff like that, and close to 2 years, they finally caught up with me. And now when you're loaded on barbiturates and whiskey, there's no freeway chase, It's just a matter of the guy coming into your motel room going, well, there he is under that table, And so they tried and convicted me and put me away for close to 2 years in southern Arizona. In 1974, I come back to California. They waited for me with a $45 voucher at the Continental Trailways. And they sent me back to California, and I hook up with the court department again. And now it's my job twice a month to go in and urinate in a jar for 15 minutes a day. I see this guy, and I only have to go in twice a month, and I can't find that window. It's all about timing, baby. It's all about timing, man. You can't find that window. 15 minutes. You can't find that window. You see? Because you can't imagine life without drinking. You can't imagine doing nothing, And at this time in my life, my periods of sobriety are they're more like paranoid trips, and in between hostility and maniacal. And I'm in a Little League dugout over there in El Segundo, and I'm 2 months sober, and just like an epileptic fit, I'm just getting hysterical, and the police come and they take me to the Harbor General Hospital, And it's amazing when we're in these conditions. The only thought that I had is, when I'm out of here, I can't wait to go to Eddie's liquor store and get me a pint. I can't wait till I'm out of this place. And a psychiatrist comes in there and he starts talking about that some of my drug overdoses have been suicide attempts, and that maybe with some of the things that are going on, that maybe I need to go to a state hospital and be observed for about a month. And I guess they like what they seen, because they kept me for close to 10 months. And I come out of there totally observed, let me have you, and they weaned me through a little halfway house over there in Gardena, and I lasted 2 months. I had my bag of antidepressants and psychotics. I had a psychiatrist to see, and I lasted 2 months. I ran out of Thorazine, and they picked me up over on Alvaro Street, a public nuisance, a public drunk. Send me back up to the county jail again, and I'm up there for about a month, and they take about 60 of us in a black and white bus. I seen California through a black and white bus, man. Always going through that neighborhood, man. And they brought me down, and I'm in a holding tank about half this size, and got my little Vons bag, and I'm wondering where they're going to send me next. And in 1975, a little Scottish man with a patch stuck his little head in a jail cell, and he said, "Are you Larry Thomas?" "Yes, I am." And he said, "Come with me." He says, "You're going to AA." I says, "Well, those are two initials I've never heard of before, OR and PO, but what's an AA, and who's this Scottish pirate with the patch all of a sudden, And that old boy took me 15 minutes. He took me into his car in a lime green Plymouth, and for 15 minutes he was your biggest cheerleader. See? For 15 minutes that guy talked about Alcoholics Anonymous and what we have here. And he told me the key of life. He says, "I know you feel different, Larry, but he says, here in Alcoholics Anonymous, don't worry about that. He says, the more different you feel, the more qualified you are. He says, nobody comes here happy and well-adjusted. He says, come with us and do what we do. And you'll be given a life where you can stay sober and have a brand new way of life." Now, how would you like a brand new way of life? Now, for 15 minutes, this guy was your biggest cheerleader. And for 15 minutes, he could have killed me. You know how he could have killed me? He could have killed me like I see him killing him today. He could have lowered his car. He could have pierced his nose. He could have talked that jailhouse nonsense to make me feel a part of AA, but he didn't. You see, he'd already been down there, and he knew it didn't work. And if I wanted anything that was being offered in that car, it was up for me to do the changing. And he took me to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in 1975, a little greasy Alano club over there in Torrance called the TLC Club. I walked in there and a guy introduced me to Indian Genie and Singin' Sam and Captain Bob and Tennessee Bill and Bicycle Ray and Santa Claus Ray and Dancing Pete and Whistling Butt and all these other people, man. I said, my God, I just left a group of people like this, and everybody had a nickname and a tattoo, and little Moose was from Louisiana, and she come running down the hallway with her little arm out, and, hi, honey, my name is Moose, and I'm expecting a miracle. I said, I bet you are, I said, I'm not it, and then this transvestite came circling me like a helicopter, and about his second time around, he said, I can't wait to take you to a candlelight meeting. I said, I don't think so, Not till I get it for a year anyway, And I said, my God, if that's AA, I'm not sure I ever want to dabble in this. And if that's the effect of that big blue book, I'm not sure I want to crack that thing open either. And from 1975 to 1982, I came in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous on a regular basis. 30 days and get drunk, and 60 days and get drunk, and 90 days and get drunk. And the longest I could stay sober was 6 months because I was on heroin. You see, and the only... And the biggest lie that I've ever told myself was that I was coming in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous. See, I hadn't touched AA. I hadn't done these things you people had taught me to do. I didn't even know what an alcoholic was. All I came in here is stopped drinking and never once did anything about my alcoholism. All I did is come here and get physically sober and mentally ill and just fight it through. And never once did I find out what a sponsor was. Never once did I pick up an ashtray, get a man a cup of coffee. Never once, because I had a secret. And the secret was this. There is nothing in me that is manly. There is nothing in me that reeks of being a man, that reeks of being a decent person. There is nothing in me that reeks of being anything but a loser. A little good-for-nothing, hope-to-die loser. But if I can do something about my drinking, and you people help me get started, that if I can do something about my drinking on my own, maybe that would make me feel like a man. Maybe then I could sit with the old man. See, I had two dreams about my father. One was getting drunk with him, and one was beating him up. And maybe that would make me feel like a man, because there ain't nothing in me that makes me feel like a man. And what would happen is I would sit in these rooms, and it was just a matter of time, man, when you become restless and irritable and discontented, and everybody around you, their life is flourishing, and sitting around rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and doing nothing and watching people's lives flourish does not make you feel good. I don't get a big cheer out of that. All I do is I know that, man, this ain't it either. And I'd sit in these rooms and get restless, irritable, and discontented and think that, well, I know when it gets bad enough back here in the back of my mind, I'll know what to do. Now, that's a hell of a place for anything of value to be, is in the back of my mind. Because there is miles to the front of it, And I'd sit in these rooms, and it was just a matter of time when I would start thinking, nope, you little loser, you're not going to make it here. It's nothing but a waste of time. Why don't you go out there and drink up and make up for lost time? You're just wasting your time here, Larry. And in 1980, there's a guy doing his 12-step call, and I'm always calling central office. And they're always coming and getting me, and they're always clean and they're sharp. There's always two guys, and they always got that spark in their eye. And they always ask me the same thing, are you ready to go to a meeting, Larry? And they take me to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And in 1980, there's this guy doing his 12-step work. And every time I call this guy, he comes and gets me. And I'm over at the Don Hotel in Wilmington. I'm on the 3rd floor. I got a hot plate and a hot TV. I got a half pint of bourbon cut in half. I got my old rented Goodwill clothes on. I got my long hair in my beach chair. I'm watching Jeopardy so I could really feel like an idiot, Every now and then I get one right. Donald Duck. Yeah, I am a smart man, I don't need no college, And 10 o'clock in the morning I hear this, Larry, it's Don. Jesus Christ, it's that guy from AA. I didn't even call him, and he's coming over here, man. He says, can I come in? Yeah, and he opens up the door. I got my half pint, and he says, oh, Larry, what's going on? He said, you had 2 weeks sober. What was going on? He says, you were going to be the janitor in the city of Lomita. There's some hope for you new guys, And I took a shot off of that bourbon bottle, and I told that guy, I said, you know what, Don? I said, you've been trying real hard, but I don't want what you got, and I don't want what you have, and if I ever get that bad, I'll know what to do. Just get the hell out of my room and let me do what I want to do. The cry of this alcoholic for my entire life, let me do what I want to do. And we all have a cry, and that was mine. Let me do what I want to do. And that shot me back to 1967 when me and my father are fighting each other, and my mom and my sisters are pulling us apart. And I'm trying to beat up the old man and tell him to get up off my back. They kicked me out of high school for selling dope and being drunk. And I'm telling him, just get up off my back, old man, and let me do what I want to do. It reminds me of the righteous lowrider getting out of that institution in 72. And where do macho men go when there's no place to go? They go to Mom's house. Yeah, the big macho lowrider's on Mom's couch. You know, wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, looks for my old crow bottle, and I can't find it. And like the days of wine and roses, man, when Jack Lemon's out there in that nursery and he's ripping up those plants looking for that pint, I start ripping up my mom's house, medicine chest, kitchen. She comes down the hallway and she says, honey, what's wrong? And I says, don't you, honey, what's wrong with me? And I start banging my mom around till I get blood out of her little nose, demanding that she come up with that half pint, just to wake up the next morning to see that the empty was in the trash. Let me do what I want to do reminds me of all the times that I'm sneaking in. This one time I'm coming home, my mom and dad hadn't seen me for a couple months, and I sneak into their house, and it's about 2:30 in the morning, and my mom's watching TV, and she's frightened to death. And I come in there, and I got my street mud on. And I sit next to my mom, and she says, hi, honey, how you doing? And she's just trembling, you know, like a cat that's just taken a shower, man. She's just like that, you know. And she puts my head down on her lap, and she starts rocking, and she's watching Steve Allen or something like that, you know, and I could feel the tears hitting my face, and I can hear her mumbling, dear God, watch my baby boy. And I'm saying, Mom, it ain't that bad. It ain't that bad, Mom. See, it strikes me in the back of the head all these times that I'm going in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, people going to any length to help me. Let me do what I want to do. And all that went by my head in about 10 seconds is the only answer to life I've ever had. Left that room, that little bald-headed carpenter. And I'm stuck with the memory of you. And from 1980 to 1982, I live on the streets, destined to die on the street, and I'm living that alcoholic nightmare where you keep coming to. And the way you feel when you're drunk and the way you feel when you're sober is the same. It's just that one has an odor. And no matter where you look when you come out of the street, there's no safe place to go. And you got a cigar box full of people's numbers in AA, and nobody wants to hear from you because you used them all up. You wore out any kind of magic there ever was here. And you last about 10 minutes. And you go out there and you get yourself another half pint. You know. And on May 2nd, 1982, I check into a mission down there in Wilmington, and I go past this Woolworth window, and I catch eyes with the thing. And the kid's about 125 pounds. His eyes are cut. I got my shoes tied to my pants. I got my Goodwill pass, and I'm ready to check in and go sing for my beans at the Beacon Light Mission. And I catch eyes with the thing. And I wonder whatever happened to my dreams, for Christ's sake. All I ever wanted to be was a cameraman. How come I'm always thinking about getting drunk and getting sober, and there's nothing in between? And I did what I always did when I was like that. I panhandled some money, and I called central office. I got a hold of Los Angeles central office, and who do I get? I get Don. I says, Don, this is Larry. I'm ready to come back to AA. Will you come and get me? And he told me the most profound thing I've ever heard in my life. He said, no. He says, you know where we are. You know what we got. If you want to get sober, get your rusty ass down here yourself. I'm tired of chasing after you. And he hung up. I said, my God, whatever happened to that love in AA, man? You know, and I took the longest walk of my life. I walked 11 miles from Wilmington to Torrance, man. And I walked up to that Alano club, and there's about 4 or 5 guys sitting out poking fun at me because I've been banned from that club. I walked up there, and the guy says, what do you want? I says, well, if it interests you, I'm looking for Don. He says, well, you've been banned from here, and we got a meeting in a half hour. He says, go in and find out and get out of there. And I go in there, and I see Don, and he's over there by the coffee bar, and he's clean and he's sharp. He's clean and he's sharp. I'm not supposed to be clean and sharp. I don't wear a tie because I think I'm sharp and effective. I wore a tie because you people taught me about respect for a thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. And every time these guys ever called me and talked to me, they were always clean and sharp. My sponsor, Johnny's always clean and sharp. The guys in my home group are always clean and sharp. The women I respect in AA are always clean and sharp. We're from the mud. There's no life above the gutter. And here we are, man. I think one of the most spiritual feelings I ever feel is when I'm in a shower getting ready to go to an AA meeting. And it starts this whole cycle of the night, man. There ain't nothing like getting ready to come see you. You see, for years, Alcoholics Anonymous has been a step down. It's been a long arm of the Salvation Army. It's been a long arm of the courts or something like that. It's been the loser's lounge. It never once became a step up. But there comes a point when everything else changes. Shoom. And I waddled up to that guy with my little poopy pants and my dirty face and my long hair, and I uttered something to that guy that I never uttered to a man in AA. I didn't ask him for a buck. I didn't ask him for a ride. And I don't know where these words came from. But I said, Don, I don't know what to do with my life. I said, would you be my sponsor? And that guy lit up like a sunrise for about 5 seconds, and then he lit into me for about 20 minutes, man. And he told me, yeah, but under no certain terms am I going to put up with your nonsense. He says, you do what I do, we're not going to have a problem. But he says, I'm not here to argue with you what you're going to do. He says, I got guys around me who want to stay sober. And I followed that guy, you see. And he was going to take me to the mission that night. And he says, you're coming home with me. I said, no, this is sponsorship. I'm already starting to smell waffles, you know. And he rolls me up to his front lawn, and there's an abandoned Toyota, and it's up on blocks, and it's all battered in like it's been in destruction derby. And he says, get into that car. I says, take me back to the mission. He says, no, you get into that car and you stay there tonight. You're staying here tonight. And he says, if you leave that car, I'm going to have you arrested. Now get in there. And he slammed the door. And he come back about 5 minutes later, and he opened up the door, and he says, while you're in there, hotshot, you better find a God. And he slammed the door again. I said, my God, what's wrong with this guy? I says, I'm in a Toyota. Where am I going to find a God? In the glove box, you know? I start looking around in the visor, you know, and a thought came to me, you know what? This may not be my longest drunk, and it may not be my worst drunk, but damn it, it's the drunk that drank away the debate of whether I'm going to do these things in Alcoholics Anonymous or not. I am the sum total of me running my life for 30 years. Why don't you just let the bald-headed carpenter have you for a year? Just do what he tells you to do. You've never done anything all the way, Larry. It's always been 20 or 30%, but you've never followed anything through in your life. Why don't you just let them have you? What do you got to lose? You can always get back to the mission. And I let that guy have me, and for a year and a half I followed that guy, and I did what he told me to do. But after a year and a half, I started becoming somebody. And there's nothing like an alkie with recognition. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I started, you know that tradition, we have no opinions? Well, I started getting a bunch of them. You know? Now I've got opinions. And boy, there ain't nothing worse than a newcomer with opinions. I tell you, you know, there is nothing worse than a new guy, you know, with, well, you know, in my opinion, I know what to do. In your opinion, we come down to the mission and ask you for your opinion, you know? And I knew where all the dances were, and I knew where all the chips were, and I knew how to quote some things, and people in that club were telling me what you used to be like and what you're like now, and I started believing them, becoming a big shot in that little club. And I'm starting to wear that AA mask where a half hour before meeting time you put your AA mask on, and you're happy and you're glad-handing for an hour and a half, and then a half hour after meeting time you go home and die, because you know what you really are. And you're never doing anything about your ongoing alcoholism. See, just not drinking is not the answer for me. I drank because of the way that I felt when I was sober. Sobriety drove me to drink time and time and time again. And now I'm sitting in this club, and I'm stark craved sober. And I'm debating whether to put the gun in my mouth or should I jump in front of the RTD. Which would be, you know, what is more convenient here, you know? And you go down to that club and you die, and you're that phony, you're that AA phony, and you know it. There ain't nothing about you that's worth it. And you're sitting down there, and after a year and a half, or close to 2 years, I'm sitting in this club, and a man came down there, and he told me what I was. He says, you're an AA pimp. He says, you're a taker of people, you're a user of things, you're a loser, Larry. He says, there's a triangle in Alcoholics Anonymous called unity, service, and recovery. He says, I hope you find it, kid. And I said, I hope I do too. And I followed that guy. I followed that guy to my first and only home group I've ever had. I don't know about a home group. I know about being in here for an hour and a half and getting the hell out of Dodge. I don't know about letting people in my life. I don't know about that there's things we do in between meetings. I didn't know that there's a fellowship that I'm going to eventually crave. I didn't know that there was a home group that I don't have to worry about finding God in, that I could come in there and pick up a mop and become part of God immediately. And he took me to my home group, and my sponsor's name is Johnny, and my home group is the Big Book Group of Bellflower, California, and those are the two most important things in my life. Not because of who they are, but because of what they've introduced me to. They've introduced me to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous in its entirety. Yeah. I guarantee you what I do in between meetings is going to constitute what I stay sober just as much as the coffee that I'm pouring. But if I ever forget who gave me life and go out there and start pursuing my personal life more than I do my sobriety, I'm in big trouble. Because we watch it all the time. You don't have to go far to listen to it. You watch people here. This is the biggest example of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is the book wide open. Watch your meetings. It'll show you what works and what doesn't work. Watch these people get sober, and they start talking to you about their blessings. I love this. They start talking about how they've been blessed with home. And thank you for the 3-year cake, and I've been blessed with this degree, and I've been blessed with this new job. And then watch them the next couple months. They start hanging themselves with their great blessings because they become more important than their thing that gave them life. And now they don't have time to come and shake your hand. Oh, they'll have time to take their cake once a year, bring their own candles, you know. But they don't have time to shake hands with the people that gave them life and maybe some son of a bitch that wants a life. And they come so wrapped up in that personal pursuit of the material again because they think maybe that'll make them feel all right. I hope I never get that selfish and self-centered that I forget about the thing that gave me life and my primary purpose. I love being around you. Without you, there ain't nothing going on in my life. Nothing, baby. Nothing worth a hoot. But when I'm with you, everything happens. Everything just starts clicking. And it all started by getting a sponsor. I love my sponsor, Johnny. I love him. He was the first man I ever had affecting. I didn't love him because of what he did in the joint and all that, but he had a belief, and I've never believed in anything but me, good or bad. I'm an egoist. I only believe in me, what I can't do or what I can do. But I followed a sponsor who was hooked on a star, and he was hooked on this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I knew, man, I wanted a piece of that belief. And I sat down and I did what that guy does because I watch him do it. See, I'm no big deal in AA. I'm just a coffee maker. You know, I'm just a regular member. My home group don't care I'm in Maryland. They could care less. They just want their coffee pot washed on Monday night. You know what I mean? They really don't give a crap, you know. And that's where I need to be, because people who demand to feel special need the experience of feeling one among many. Oh, that simmering down of the ego, man. Where nobody's too good to shake hands with and nobody's too bad to hug. You know, because our common welfare comes first. You being black and gay or Spanish or whatever doesn't enter the picture, pal. But you being alcoholic does. It's very important that I keep my seat the most important part of my life. My seat in my meeting is the most important part of my life. I don't let anything get between me and my seat. Because the moment I start questioning where I'm supposed to be on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I'm history. And so nothing gets in between me and my seat. That's my seat. I love my seat. Because 2 seats down is my sponsor. 4 seats down are guys that I sponsor. I'm in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've never felt as solid as in my life. I'm around a fellowship that I crave, because all I think about when I'm away from you is being with you again. You're the highlight of my day. I love being with you. I fight it tooth and nail. Alcoholics Anonymous has took the only decent thing in my life, my feet, and you've trained my feet, because I got a head that tells me for 3 hours before meeting time, I'm not going. 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 Pete's going to be there. John's going to be there. Mindy's going to be there. I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not. Hi, my name is Larry. Totally against my will, man. Alcoholics Anonymous is the longest thing I've ever done against my will my entire life, man. Yeah, I've been divinely inconvenienced for 20 years, you know. My head doesn't care, but once I'm with you, my feet are trained to be with you. Now the secret is to keep good. It's only trained for that one day. It's only trained for that one day. But isn't it amazing, like we used to just wake up and find ourselves at that liquor store parking lot, how you can be debating it, and after having secure meetings that you're supposed to show up to on certain days. That's the neat thing about having commitments in meetings. You get grooved into going to a certain place on a Monday. So regardless of how goofy you are, it's almost like your car automatically goes there. And if you have a commitment, you're hooked in. And if you got guys you sponsor, they're waiting for you. And if you got a sponsor, he's looking for you, you know. And I love having my home group. I invite you to my home group. I'm an active member of that home group. We have greeters who greet you and welcome you. We got guys that'll get you coffee. We got people who'll steal your seat. We got people who will thank you for coming and ask you to come back. Because that's my home, and we take care of that home group. That's our home group. That's why we don't ask for volunteers. You don't invite somebody over to your house and ask them, would you help me clean my bathroom? That's my home group. Those are my chores, man. It's up to me to make that home group as comfortable as I can for you to come in, so you don't have anything distracting you from you and that message. We don't got people getting up and in the middle of the meeting. We got people tripping over you and spilling coffee on your lap just to see if you're serene that day, you know? We don't want nothing between you and the microphone. We don't want nothing between you and that alkie. Because we know sometimes in every meeting we sit in, somebody's getting a nudge. You see, a lot of us aren't spiritual gurus who walk hand in hand with God. There's a lot of us who never know what He looks like, and there's a lot of us who are just the grinders in AA. But every now and then we'll sit in our meeting, and God will give us a nudge. We'll be sitting in that meeting, and we'll hear something, and you can almost feel it. My sponsor's a nudge. He's a nudger, you know. And every now and then God will give you a nudge, and you'll hear something. Pay attention to it. Every now and then you'll be in your book study, and you'll read something, and you'll get a nudge. Pay attention to it. Those are signs. Those are signs for me, you know. Now, what are you going to do with a guy like me? My sponsor took me through my inventory. He took me through my amends steps. And I got to take the two most important people off the hook, my mom and dad. What a great deal that was. There's nothing like my mom and my father. I love them to death. And now every February I get to go up to Monterey, California. When my mom used to live up there, I'd go up there. And she'd be living up there. And I could lay her little head full of emphysema on my lap, and I used to rock her. And she could feel my tears as my tears hit her face. And I thank God for this program of Alcoholics Anonymous, where that little lady doesn't have to be robbed of her peace of mind because she's worried about me no more. That's what I get to give back. The very thing I robbed. The peace of mind that we rob from people. My drinking ain't bothering anybody. Really now. And now she's got peace of mind. She knows where I'm at. And that little father that I couldn't stand. From the time I was 10 years sober, my sponsor taught me how to be a son. Treat him like you would me, for Christ's sakes. Take him to ball games. Just treat him like you would me, Larry. And I got to spend the last couple of years with my dad. That 200-pound refinery worker started getting chemo, and he was down to 95 pounds. He had a little Dodger hat on. And my sponsor told me to go over there and just do what he needs to have done, man. Be of service to him, Larry. And I didn't talk about my bad day, and I didn't talk about his bad day, but I brought the very thing that you people installed in me as a little sense of humor to his day. And then we'd go over there and laugh it up, and I'd take care of his bills. The old man gave me his checkbook, and I'd get him current. And I'd wash him, and I'd clean him, and I'd arrange the Meals on Wheels. What a neat man he was. You know why he didn't give me anything? He wanted me to earn it. He wanted to give me the dignity and the character of earning your own. You see, when you earn your own here, it's not so easy to throw away. And that's what you people taught me. People like my sponsor and you taught me to earn my sobriety, that there's no magic wand over here. It's not going to shield you from life's little bullets. That Alcoholics Anonymous is going to put you smack dab in the middle of life, and you better have a program because nobody cares. A couple people care here a little. Put all your efforts into staying sober, my sponsor said, and the rest of your life will take care of itself. And everything you need to make you happy will be given to you by the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And anything that maybe gets in the way of that happiness will be removed by the program of Alcoholics. But never leave us. It's God's great pleasure to give you His kingdom. And it's right here. Put all your energy into Alcoholics Anonymous and watch these other areas of your life take care of yourself. And that man that I couldn't stand was my little buddy. And every now and then I miss that old man, and I'll hear him singing Bobby Darin and the Fats Domino songs. And it wasn't too long ago I started hearing the Fats Domino song, and I could hear the old man singing. And I looked over there, and for Christ's sake, it was my sponsor singing Fats Domino. Everything I ever needed was given to me here. Everything a guy needs, man. What are you going to do with a guy like me? I don't know nothing. I come from nothing. Alcoholics Anonymous finally made me a plumber. They took me right out of the gutter and stuck me in the sewer, for Christ's sakes, you know. And in 1992, I couldn't hold a job. And I'd go pick up my baby Lauren, and she'd have holes in her underwear and holes in her elastic because the old man couldn't hold a job. And who was suffering but my baby girl? Who wasn't getting their child support was my wife, my divorced wife. And you know how you get even with that divorced woman? You don't give her nothing. You don't give her any money. That's how you get even. And you let the little one suffer. And I went to my sponsor at 10 years sober, and I'm stone crazy again because I can't hold a job. And he told me how to hold a job or what to do. See, my sponsor gives me the dignity of going through whatever it takes to get to him for the answer. He doesn't try to beat me to the punch and try to second guess what kind of help I need. Because he knows by the time my ass is coming to him, I'm ready for anything he tells me to do. I am coming there unattended, baby. And when I came to him at 10 years sober and told him I didn't know how to hold a job, he says, I know. I've been watching you for 10 years, you know. You slip in and out of employment like you did AA because you're afraid of commitment. Why don't you just go to your job and be a service to your boss and help him get things done he needs to get done? Well, who are you? You know? And that was the answer. And Johnny took off that weekend, and I went and talked to Clancy, and he gave me some other things to do. And from 1992 to this very day, I've had the same job because I did what my sponsor told me to do. And every morning I get in that truck, and I say, God, help me do what my customer needs to have done today. And help me shut up. Help me just keep my mouth shut when I feel like arguing, you know. I got a good life today. My little girl, I see her on a regular basis. I'm an active part of her life. She lives in Phoenix. So if the macho man can come to Maryland and talk, can he drive to L.A. to Phoenix to see his baby girl? You bet I do. And I write that little girl on Pocahontas paper. And that little girl's doing fine. She's doing excellent. She's 13 years old, and she's already thinking about going to college and going to Nebraska and Georgetown and stuff like that. And she asked me the other day, she said, Dad, the kids are making fun of me in school because I'm so smart. She said, did that ever happen to you? And like any good alkie, I said, yeah. Hell yeah. What's a 4-letter word for goof, you know? And I love my baby girl, and I'm an active part of her life. And nothing special has happened to me here. Nothing special has happened to me here. 1939, Bill Wilson took the Lasker Award, and he stood up and he accepted the award from the medical profession for Alcoholics Anonymous. And the room gave him a standing ovation, and he sat down. And Dr. Bob said, Bill, they're not applauding you, they're applauding the method. It's the method here. I am the middle of the most miraculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I am in the middle of the solid thing I've ever wanted in my life. I have no doubt that the God in me sees the God in you. I have no doubt that when I'm in rooms like this with people like you, that I am right where I'm supposed to be. This program was divinely inspired in 1935, and I have a hunch that those principles and those steps and the traditions may be the closest I ever do to God's will, and I'm happy with that, and I'm happy to be with you, and thank you.